Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video we are going to be talking about yet another beautiful philodendron called as the Philodendron lime fiddle. Now it looks very much similar to the last philodendron that we spoke, that was the green dragon, but there is a couple of differences in this, including the shape of the leaves. But the most important thing is the leaves. They have a very beautiful variegation. Now I'm extremely sorry and apologetic to the condition of the plant, because this plant had got quite beaten up in the transit, but nevertheless the plant is doing quite well. It is giving me a new growth. The new leaf has just released from the cataphyll, so I'm pretty excited about it. But this is how the leaves tend to look like. It has this beautiful mottled leaves with a very light variegation. That's what makes this plant very beautiful and unique, apart from the beautiful shape of the leaves. Now, as I said, the plant did get a lot of beating in the transit. Most of the leaves happened to get damaged, probably because of rough handling of the courier people. So nevertheless, the plant is doing quite well. We will talk a little bit in detail about this plant. Now again, this plant is also a climber, so you'll have to use a pole for it. You can go with a coir pole, moss pole, sphagnum moss pole, or a coir rope pole as well. That is going to work out really well because they tend to climb as and when the plant starts to grow. If you're not going to use a pole, the plant will start to fall downwards, and it's not going to be very good for the growth of the plant because the roots will be everywhere. They prefer their roots to get attached onto a pole because these are epiphytic plants. Now talking about the light, it prefers a good amount of indirect bright light. Do not keep it in direct sunlight, otherwise the leaves will get damaged. You can either give filtered light, dappled sunlight, or indirect bright light. This plant can be grown indoor as well as outdoor. If you're growing it indoor, keep it closer to the windowsill where it gets an ample amount of indirect bright light, but the sun rays do not directly fall onto the leaves. Now, if you want that beautiful variegation on the leaves, you'll have to provide it with a good amount of light. It can do well in low light as well, but the variegation will disappear. Plant will grow very slow, and the plant can even get leggy if you do not give an ample amount of light. Now talking about the soil mix, I tend to use the same soil mix, which is a mix of garden soil, coco peat, perlite and sand. Coco peat is going to retain that slight moisture in the soil because that's what philodendrons prefer, a slight amount of moisture but not soggy wet soil. The garden soil is going to give that essential nutrients and minerals to the plant. Perlite is going to make the soil mix airy, and sand is going to make the soil mix well draining because they prefer well draining airy soil mix. The excess water should drain out of the drain hole. Do not use a pot that does not have a drain hole. If the water is going to get collected in the pot, or if the soil tends to stay soggy, the plant will have a root rot. So keep these things in mind. Now talking about watering, whenever you see around 1 to 2 inches of the upper layer of soil is dry, go ahead and do a complete watering until the water starts passing through the drain hole. As I said, they prefer a slight amount of moisture. Do not keep the soil dry for a longer period of time. Otherwise the leaves will start to wilt like this. They might even have brown tips, or in general the plant will start having a lot of brown leaves. So keep this in mind. You need to have a balanced watering. Not too less, not too more. During summers, yes, the frequency of watering is going to increase as compared to winters. During winters, you'll have to reduce the frequency of watering. Talking about dormancy and non-dormancy, philodendrons are in their growing period during the summers. During winters, they kind of slow down their growth. So if you're using fertilizers, ensure you're doing fertilizers now during the warmer months, which is the summers. You can do it once a month with any liquid-based fertilizer. I tend to use my compost tea once a month, and that tends to work out really well. Now talking about temperature and humidity, they will do well in a temperature that is between 15 degrees Celsius up to 33-34 degrees Celsius. As I said, these are tropical plants. They prefer warmer environment and a good amount of humidity. A humidity above 50% will work out really well. It's not necessary that you have to use a humidifier. If you're going to club other plants together, keep a pebble tray beneath, the plant will do quite well. Even indoor as well, average humidity, the plant will do excellent. Now talking about pest issues, yes, the plant does get affected with mealybugs, spider mites and white flies, so always turn the leaves and check. If you tend to see anything, go for any organic solution that you have been using and been working out really well for you. Do not wait for the last minute. At the early stage, if you treat the bugs, it's much better. Do not let the plant get into an infestation. Now talking about toxic, yes, this plant is toxic, so ensure you're keeping this plant away from the reach of small children and pets. The leaves and the stem contains calcium oxalate. When ingested, it can burn the lips, mouth, difficulty in breathing, so be extremely careful. Whenever you are doing a stem cutting or a propagation, ensure you're using gloves because the sap can also irritate the skin, especially if you have sensitive skin. Talking about propagation, as I've said, I've already made 2 videos. I'll put the link in the description below. You can see this is the node. We have some aerial roots over here. So few centimeters below the node, you have to do a cutting. You can then put it either into the soil or you can put it into leca and you can let it grow. So if you want to watch the detailed video about propagation of philodendron, I'll put the link in the description below. You can check it out. So apart from that, it's a very easy to grow plant. If you are a beginner, if you're looking out for something very unique looking plant, then this is one of the plant. Very beautiful shaped leaves. Apart from that, this beautiful design and variegation on the leaves tend to make this plant even more beautiful. So if you are a person who's interested in it, definitely you'll find this plant online. As I said, small or local nurseries, maybe you might not find it because this is not very common plant. I wouldn't say it's a rare plant, but it's also not a very common plant. So probably you might find it online, but in local nurseries it might be a little difficult, especially if it's a very small one. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe and keep propagating.